So the topic for tonight that we're going to be talking about is freedom. You know, I actually experienced just yesterday, Hashem worked it out for me, that yesterday I experienced the ultimate slavery and the ultimate freedom in the same exact day. It was literally like within like 3 hours, like total slavery, total freedom. What did I experience? Jury duty. I got called into jury duty yesterday, and so I was there, and I was like hoping and praying. You know, they don't call my number, and they're like, "Who's the first one they call?" Me. You know, so I got called in, and I felt it was really funny. Like I felt like a kid all over again. Like they tell you, they call all these like 60 people out of the hallway, and like everybody line up against the wall. I'm like, oh my goodness, what's going on over here? You know, they call it roll call, and like you gotta say it. And one guy didn't say his name quick enough. They gave him like a dirty look. You know, I said, oh my goodness, this is scary. And they take you to the courtroom, and they were talking about criminal cases, and you know, and possibly the death penalty, all kinds of things going on. And you know, the lady sitting next to me, she said, oh yeah, she said, I know, with a case like this, there's a good chance that if we get called on the jury, we're going to be here for another 3 weeks, 4 weeks, you know. I said, oh my goodness. But then, when, you know, they had everybody fill out some questionnaires, etc., and afterwards, the bailiff was announcing like all the people that they're letting go. Okay, and seeing it was an unbelievable thing. My number was 55 out of 60, so I was like later on in the thing. But when he called like number one, there were these people, like grown adults that were all like mature. All of a sudden they're like, yes! You know? And there's these like faces, so those people are like fist bumping each other, you know, there's cheering going on as like he's letting people go. You know, so then when he got to he said number 55, you could go, which was me. I said, okay, I tried to maintain composure, you know, even though I was really, really excited. So that was like the ultimate, the ultimate freedom, you know, we got out of there. So that at least, you know, gave me a little bit of like, you know, okay, what does it feel like, you know, to go free? And as I was driving home, like I drove past Krispy Kreme, I'm like, I am so free right now. I am going in there, I am getting like a large latte, you know, nothing small, you know, we're not messing around over here, you know, I am a free man, no 3 weeks on some capital case that I don't want to deal with, you know. So, you know, Baruch Hashem for that. But really we're going to be talking, the topic for tonight is, you know, a Torah life, freedom through restrictions. And, you know, it's very interesting. If you take a look in the Oxford Dictionary, if you look at the definition of the word freedom, the definition of the word freedom is as follows: the power or right to act, speak, or think as one wants. That's how Oxford Dictionary translates freedom. That's number one on their list. Number two on their list, as far as definitions go, they say it's the absence of subjection to foreign domination. So two things, according to them. Number one, the right to act, speak, or think as you want. And as well, the absence of subjection. So as long as nobody's subjecting me, and I have the ability to say, think, do whatever I want, then according to the Oxford Dictionary, I'm truly free. And you know, I saw an article not too long ago from Rabbi Benjamin Blech. He writes a lot on H.com. He's unbelievable. And he said that he was lecturing on the topic of freedom. It was around Pesach time. Okay, he was lecturing on the topic of freedom in a college campus. And you know, and they introduced him as follows. The person who was introducing him to speak said the following thing. Listen, this is really funny. She said that. She said that before I could say anything, the person in charge carried on, who was talking about her, telling the students how she was certain that in this talk I would explain that Jews celebrate Passover as the biblical festival which glorifies freedom as the greatest of all human rights. It is this concept, listen to this, she enthusiastically went on, that guides us today as we live in a country that permits no limitations on our personal freedoms. We are free to do as we please. She suggested all thanks to a Jewish holiday. And, you know, he was thinking, oh no. He was like, that really? That's the introduction? That's what everybody's going to think? That's what freedom is? Freedom is to be in a place where there's absolutely no restrictions, where I could do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want. That's true freedom. And he went on to deliver the rest of his talk. And I want to talk about tonight how the Torah talks about freedom, and what what really is the Torah's perspective, okay, when it comes to this concept of freedom. And you're going to see how this relates to Shavuos. So if we take a look, the starting point is a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. It's number 1 on your sheet. Okay, as soon as you open up the packet, number 1, an incredible Mishnah. And I'm going to say most of it outside, and we'll read just 1 or 2 lines inside the Mishnah. But the Mishnah in Perek Vav, Mishnah Beis, tells us that Har Sinai, which is referred to here as Mount Chorev, Har Sinai, every single day lets out a bas kol. A bas kol is like a heavenly voice that comes out from Mount Sinai every single day. I don't know what that means. I don't know if we're able to really hear it, but the heavenly voice says the following. It says that woe to the people for their insult to the Torah. It makes such a proclamation that those who are not involved in Torah are an insult to the Torah. Sounds very strong, and he goes on to give a mashal to compare. He says that it's kind of like a pig, right? Where there's like a pig which represents the lowest of all animals, where a person were to put a gold ring inside the in the pig. So you look at this pig and say, it's the lowest of all animals, but yet it has something so beautiful and it has something so valuable, this gold ring. That's not the way it's supposed to be. He says that's how we would view somebody who is not involved in Torah. Very strong, right? They have something within their possession, Torah, which is something that's so valuable, just like that gold ring. However, they're not using it properly. So it's an insult. It's an insult to the Torah. That's what he says. However, then he continues, and the Mishnah is bothered by a question. Okay, very nice. It's true it's an insult to the Torah. However, we all know, and all of us here around this table know, that keeping the Torah is not easy. Keeping the Torah comes with a lot of restrictions. Living a Torah lifestyle is not something that people think is the easiest thing. Okay, kosher food is a lot more expensive. Okay, you can't on Shabbos. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't do the other thing. Okay, when it comes to yeshiva tuition. I'm on video, we're not going to talk about that. But no, I'm just kidding. But, living the Torah lifestyle has restrictions and has difficulties and has challenges, and we all know that. And that's real. And very often, it's hard for people to live a Torah lifestyle and to do it. So therefore, one may ask the following question. Listen, I understand Torah is very valuable. I understand a life of doing Torah and mitzvos is very valuable. And I'm going to get a special seat up in heaven if I keep the Torah. However, maybe it's just not worth it. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe it's not worth it, the life that I have to live in this world now with so many restrictions, so many difficulties, so much extra money that I have to spend, so much that I have to do to fulfill being Jewish. That maybe it's just not worth it. Maybe I'm better off. Maybe I'm more free. Maybe if I could just live the life that I really want to, where I could do whatever I want, whenever I want, with nobody telling me what to do and nobody giving me any constraints, maybe I should just do that. Yeah, it's true. Up in heaven, I'm not going to get such a great seat. Okay. But you know what? But maybe it's worth it. I mean, I have to live this life every single day, doing this and mitzvot and davening 3 times a day, and they tell you what to wear, when to wear it, right? How many times to pray, what? You can't, you're getting close to Shkia, you can't pray mincha anymore. Come on, right? This is very difficult. So maybe I should say forget it and live the life that I want to. So to that, the Mishnah responds the following. And we'll take a look over here. It's on the line, it's on the 4th line in the Mishnah. I'm going to read it in Hebrew and then we'll read it in the English. And it's the line that has the underline over there. It says, Al Tikra Choros, it's referring to the Luchos. The Pasuk in the Torah tells us, the verse in the Torah tells us that the Luchos were Charut. Okay, the Luchos, the tablets that Moshe received at Har Sinai, they were Charut, they were engraved. The letters, the wording were engraved inside the tablet. Okay? But the Mishnah tells us, Al Tikra Charut, Ella Cherut. Do not read the verse as if charut, as if that the words were engraved. Rather read it as the word cherus, freedom. She'ein lecha ben chorin elamisha osek b'talmud Torah. Because there's nobody in the world that is free, besides for the person that is involved in the study of Torah. He's saying something very interesting, saying that the only person, the Mishnah is telling us, that the only true person, you think that you're going to be free if you drop the Torah values. If a person says, you know what, the Torah is just way too restrictive for me, forget about it. I'm just going to drop it. It's not worth it. You think that you're going to be free? Person thinks, oh, I'll be able to do as I want, as I please, I'm free. He says, no, that's not free. True freedom is a person who is involved in the study of Torah. And if we take a look at the commentary of the Tiferes Yisrael, it's one of the commentaries on the Mishnah, towards the bottom of the page, he says the following, and I'm going to read it in English for the sake of time. He says that only he, meaning one who's involved in Torah, is not in slavery. He is not enslaved to his body. This is freedom. Since his soul is not enslaved to his physical desires, this is the only true freedom. Not when his desires are free and his soul is enslaved to his desires. Sounds like a person who's involved in Torah, that individual, his soul is like soaring, okay, and his body is really enslaved to his soul, and that is the ultimate freedom. Those are the words they said. Now, if we were to stop the shir right over here, okay, so then, I think all of us would say this makes for a beautiful drasha, right? This would make for a beautiful sermon that goes on in the shul, in the synagogue, a beautiful speech, right? Wonderful. The only freedom comes through Torah. Wonderful, beautiful speech, right? Then we go to Kiddush, right? But that's very nice. But I was thinking about this Mishnah not too long ago, and I said, but it doesn't add up. You see, I feel like the question is almost better than the answer. Like, let's talk bottom line. The bottom line is the Torah does come with restrictions. You can talk poetic and say very nice, the only type of freedom comes from Torah. But let's be honest. That's not, we're not really free. And based on Oxford definition that we said before, right, that a person can do what they want, say what they want, etc., that doesn't apply to a person who lives a life of Torah. We can't do whatever we want, whenever we want. We have restrictions. We have 613 commandments. And many of them are restrictive and difficult and tell us what to do and how to do it. So, if I were reading a Mishnah that said something to the effect of, if you study Torah and you live a life of Torah, then Hashem is going to be very proud of you. Then that I understand. That makes sense to me. If I read a Mishnah that said something to the effect of, if you live a life of Torah, so then you're going to be very happy. You'll feel fulfillment. That's nice. I understand that. But don't tell me you're living freedom. You're living freedom? No, it's not freedom. It's not freedom. Torah comes with many restrictions and is difficult. So how do we understand this Mishnah? How do we understand what's going on over here to make such a bold statement that the Mishnah is making, which is of course right, and we have to work to understand it, that Torah is the ultimate freedom. Those who are running around and doing what they want as they want, the Mishnah is telling us that's not free at all. In fact, that's slavery. How does that add up? How do we really understand that? Before we continue on, I wanted to share actually in an unbelievable midrash. There's an unbelievable midrash that says, the following. I'll say it outside. But at the beginning of the Torah, it tells us when it came to Adam Harishon, when it came to the first person, the Torah tells us that the first person that was created was viewed as Tov Ma'od, very good. Very good. That's the wording of the pasuk. And the Medrash tells us something interesting. What does that mean? That it was very good? Very good is referring to two aspects of the person. The person has, number one, a Yetzer Tov, a good inclination that pushes us to do the right thing. And a person also has a Yetzer Hara, a bad inclination, that gets us to fulfill our desires, etc. And the Medrash is telling us that because the human being has those two components, therefore the human being is called very good. The Medrash says this, does that make any sense? How could you possibly call the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, how could you possibly call that good? It's not good. It's bad for us. And he answers as follows, and it's number 3 on your sheet. He answers as follows. The Medrash says that it's on line 4 over there. I'm sorry, I should have put numbers on the lines. It says, that is certainly a difficult question, right? How could it be that the evil inclination is very good? And he says like this, that rather without the evil desire, no individual would build a house, would get married, and have children. And so said Shlomo, again, I consider all labor and all excelling in work. That is a man's rivalry with his neighbor. So the point is, the Medrash is telling us that the Yetzer Hara is very good for us. The evil inclination is very good for us. If not for the Yetzer Hara, a person would never go get a job, right? Because of the desires that a person has. A person needs to eat. A person needs to make parnasah, right? A person needs to pay the mortgage. So therefore they're pushed. They have to go get a job, build a house. A person, human beings would never end up getting married. There would never be children in the world if not for the desires that were created within the human being. So therefore, the Yetzer Hara is a fantastic thing. So if so then why do we view it as bad? So the answer is as follows. Rav Volbe Zatzal said the following brilliant thing. He said that we have a lot of negative things in Judaism that we talk about, negative midot, right? There's anger, there's jealousy, there's gaiva, there's haughtiness. And we also talk about taiva, desires. He says, but desires are very different than all of them. You see, anger, jealousy, haughtiness, those are all inherently bad. And therefore, we naturally feel jealous and we have to work on it. However, the way that a person works on it is that they consider it, they tell themselves, we remind ourselves that this is bad. It's a bad thing to feel jealous. And therefore we try our best to uproot it completely from our being. However, taiva, our desires, our physical desires, are not bad. Rav Volbe says they're not bad at all. They're actually very good, as the Medrash is telling us. They're very good, they're very important, they're very necessary. The problem is, though, when they get out of control. That's the problem. The issue is when our desires begin to get out of control, and then we don't know that line, we don't know what's appropriate or what's not appropriate. What is it that I need as far as my physical desires, and what is it that's just going too far? And he said, and that is like the biggest challenge. Because it's not so easy to just say, get rid of my desires. No, that would be a bad thing. Hashem would be unhappy if a person did that. Because our desires are good. The but the challenge that we all face is our desires going out of control. And going from the place that they're supposed to be, from the level they're supposed to be at, to somewhere where they're not supposed to be. Now there's a fellow by the name of Tristan Harris. Tristan Harris, he worked formerly for Google as his job was he was studying the ethics of human persuasion over there while he was working for Google. Okay, so he was actually the design ethicist. Okay, now Tristan Harris, while he was working at Google, okay, he put together this whole conference that was going to take place within the Google offices. And this is what he said. Okay, this was in 2013 at his presentation. He said the following thing. Okay, I'm going to quote from Tristan Harris. He said that Google, Apple, and Facebook should feel an enormous responsibility to make sure that humanity doesn't spend its days buried in a smartphone. This is what Tristan Harris said while he was working for Google. Now it could be that's why he was formerly working for Google, right? I don't know. They don't tell you that part of the story, right? But the bottom line is now this guy he created an organization where he runs around talking about how major companies are really tapping into human psychology in a negative way and trying to addict all of us, to pull us closer and to lure us in. And he's talking about that, and he's trying to to help to create preventative measures. But listen to this, okay? He said the following thing as he continued in his presentation. He said that when you wake up in the morning, you have certain goals for your life and for your kids. But when you open YouTube, it doesn't know of any of those goals. It has one goal: to make you forget your goals and to keep you watching as many YouTube videos as possible. It's a quote from Tristan Harris, the design ethicist, former at Google. Okay, we lose ourselves. We lose ourselves, especially in this day and age. Especially in this age, we lose ourselves in our desires and our needs, the things that we have, and we do have needs. We do have needs when it comes to our phones and when it comes to the technology that we have. We do, of course. But Rav Volbe told us it's a matter of it. How does it go? Does it get out of control? I was looking up. I saw a New York Times report that said something very, very interesting. It started off as follows. It said that teenagers today, they look at their phones approximately 150 times a day. Okay, that's a starting point. They look at their phones 150 times a day. Okay, fine, but we're gonna go further. Now, but they said, right? They said, what is it? Exactly. But they said that 46%, very interesting, 46% of smartphone users said that they could not even possibly live without their phone. Okay, there was a study that was done at the University of Maryland. Okay, so they were evaluating college students that were from, I don't know exactly, it doesn't say the number of students that they actually evaluated, but the students, whatever number it was, were from 10 different countries. Okay, so they're really from like across the globe. Okay, and they asked them, you know, they asked them, they wanted to find out about like how attached they are to their phones, and they said that the majority of them said that they feel tremendous distress when going without their phone for 24 hours. 24 hours, tremendous distress. I heard a conversation last year. It was very troubling. I heard a conversation between two teenage boys. I was just happened to be walking behind them, and it was before Yom Tov. I don't remember if it was Rosh Hashanah or Shavuos, whatever it was. But one boy says to the other, he says, "Hey, you looking forward to Yom Tov? Hey, before Yom Tov's coming up, you looking forward?" And the other boy said, "No, I'm really not." And the first boy said, "Well, why not?" He goes, "Because it's a 3-day Yom Tov this year, and I gotta go 3 days without my phone." And you know, when I heard that, and it was like, whoa. And I'm thinking like, 3 days without my phone. Yes, you know, shut up, we'll go 4. Let's make it a 4-day Yom Tov. Yeah, I'll be thrilled. Yeah. You know, that's why. And on the 5th day, I'll just pretend like my phone's not working, so everything will be great. You know, you can't go without your phone 3 days. Teenage boy, this is a person without, you know, family responsibilities, who's not married, right? A child. Okay. But even more, there's a study in August of 2018, so we're talking about last year, that came out saying the following thing. This study was measuring boys and girls, teenage boys and girls, between the ages of 13 and 17. By the way, these are not Jewish studies, these are studies across the board, across the world. And so again, teenagers between the ages of 13 and 17, they said, get this, they said, I think it was 60% of teenagers between those ages said that spending too much time online is a major problem facing their age group. They admitted that. And from that group, 50% said that they themselves spend too much time on the internet, on their phones. Okay, 41% that they overdo it on social media. They said that the average, from that 41%, those teenagers were spending on average 9 hours a day on social media. 9 hours. 9 hours a day on social media. But here's the kicker.
They're not to school.
No, in school.
In school.
In school.
What do you think is going on under those desks over there? You know? But 9 hours a day on social media. Okay. Oftentimes, what happens is that kids are, you know, they'll come home from school, but the issue that people are finding is that kids are staying up very late at night, and they're on social media, etc., etc. But listen to this again. 60% of the group said that it's a major problem for our age group. However, those same people said, and the same study showed, that these teens are self-aware of the problem, but they're unable. They're unable to control it. They want to control it. They do. But they're unable to control it. And, you know, it sounds pretty scary, and I think that this is what, this and other examples, of course, that we know, you know, it's not just about the internet, it's about, you know, everything. Our desires are not a bad thing, and we should never think that. You know, that's not a Jewish belief. Desires, taiva, these are good things. Hashem put it within us. It's a positive thing. Hashem wants us to have desires. Hashem wants us to have taiva. As we said before from the Medrash, the only way the world would have continuity is because of our human desires. However, like Rav Volbe Zatzal told us, the only way that the only way that can be utilized properly is if those desires are kept in check and they don't go way out of control. But the Yetzer Hara, he's a smart guy, and he knows how to get us, as we see from the issues that are going on here in our generation. He knows how to get us and to take our desires to go completely out of control. Okay? So what are we supposed to do about this in this time period, right? Where just, and again, the cell phones and the social media and all that, these are just examples, okay, of what's going on. That people are completely losing themselves. They're completely losing themselves. So what are you supposed to do? Again, Oxford Dictionary told us before that true freedom, if you want to be free, true freedom is to be able to do what you want, when you want, how you want to do it. That's being free. Is that really free? That person's free to be spending 9 hours a day on social media, to be in a state where, like one of these teenagers, where I know that it's a problem, I know it's a problem that I'm involved in, that I want to stop, but I can't stop. That's freedom. That's a life of freedom. That's not really freedom. Remember what the Mishnah told us. The Mishnah told us that the only person who's truly free is somebody who's involved in Torah. So how does that work? Again, we said before that the Torah is very restrictive, right? And it is. So how does that work? How could that possibly be true, that the Torah is going to provide freedom with all of this that's going on? 60%, right? Social media, all this stuff, all these numbers. How's the Torah going to talk to that? How's the Torah going to address that? Okay? And, number one, to point out, I'm sorry, before we get to that point, I wanted to say out an absolutely incredible piece from the Sforno. I didn't end up putting it on your sheet, but absolutely beautiful. The Sforno tells us at the beginning of the Torah where it says that Adam Harishon, we know in Chava, they fell, right? Adam and Eve, they sinned, right? When they ate from what? From the eitz Hadas Tov V'Ra, right? The tree of knowledge of good and bad. Very weird language, right? The tree of knowledge, good and bad, what, huh? Right? What does that mean, right? We know it's a forbidden tree, and they ate from the forbidden tree, and they messed up, all right? That's why we got a lot of problems, right? Because of that. But what does that mean? So the Sforno tells us something incredible. He goes, you know what that means? The Eitz Hadas, the tree of knowledge of good and bad? It means that the Yetzer Hara, which is what this tree is representing, okay? The Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, the type of the desires get us. They're so powerful that they get us to desire the things that we consider to be good, even when we know it's bad. Tov V'Ra. When we think that something is good, we think it's good. So our desires take us and carry us with it and have us do it and get us all involved in it, even though we know that it's actually very bad. And it goes the other way too. That our desires get us to do things that we would consider to be bad by our standards. Okay? Even though we know that it's really good. Okay? Even if we know that it's really good for us, right? If there's something like a bad, a medicine, okay, it would be just an example. Or if a medicine doesn't taste good, so the child never wants to taste it, okay, never wants to take it, but because it doesn't taste good. But we know that it's good for them. The child still doesn't want it. Similarly, when it comes to our desires, right, something that I view as bad, it doesn't taste good, it doesn't look good to me, so I'm not going to go for it, even though I know that it's good for me. That's how powerful the Yetzer Hara is. He totally messes with our mind and takes us way out of control. So how are we going to deal with that? And how does Torah really address that? If you take a look at number 6 on your sheet, unbelievable. The Chazon Ish, one of the Gedolei Hador of the last generation, really 2 generations ago, lived in Bnei Brak. The Chazon Ish wrote a fantastic, beautiful sefer. Not that it needs my approval at all, but wrote an incredible work called Emunah U'Bitachon, where he talks about the concept of trust and faith in God. And in his book, in his work, he starts talking about this topic, about Torah and how important Torah is to us, etc. And he says the following thing. We'll read it in the English. Number 6. He says that when a person gets accustomed to being meticulous in the observance of halacha, in opposition to his natural and inborn tendencies, this accustoms him to have his deep understanding rule and his intellect control him. It enhances his constant awareness of the importance of submitting to his inner sense and elevated conscience, and trains him to be a spiritual person, distancing him completely from coarseness. We all have an intellect, Okay, we all have seichel, intellect. The problem is that our desires, our taiva, those desires, as we said before, go out of control and they take control over our intellect. You know what the Torah does for us? By giving us restrictions, the Torah tells us, the Torah not just tells us, the Torah allows us to have our intellect, our seichel, control our emotions. It gives us the ability to decide what is truly right and what is it that I really want to do. When I train myself from a young age to when it comes Shabbos, I'm not cooking. When it comes Shabbos, I'm not turning on my cell phone. When it comes Shabbos, I'm not doing any of those restrictions. I'm training myself to go against the natural grain. The natural grain that Oxford Dictionary told us before, just do what you want, whatever you want. No. The Torah tells us don't do that. You can't say what you want whenever you want. You want to talk bad about your friend because it makes a person feel good. The Torah tells us that's called lashon hara, and you're not allowed to do that. Torah tells us what it is that you can eat and what it is that you can't eat. And by giving us those restrictions, what it's allowing us to do, it's allowing us to put ourselves in control, to give ourselves time and give ourselves the ability to stop, the ability to really think about who we are and about what it is that we really want in life. I heard an amazing story last year from Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson. Many people know him. He's such a fantastic speaker. So he was in North Miami Beach last year speaking, and he said the following. He said that there was a teenage boy, who was having issues with religion. He was having issues with his Judaism, and he was dealing with a lot of the questions that we were dealing with at the beginning of this talk, right? He was saying that, Judaism is so restrictive, it's so difficult, it doesn't let me do what I want to do. And he was saying, forget it. I just want to throw this off, it's not worth it. So he went to his rabbi, and he told him this, and the rabbi said, interesting, okay. And he got into conversation with him, started talking. He said, I have a question for you. Do you have any hobbies? Things you like to do on the side? Nothing to do with Torah. And the boy said, yeah. He said, I happen to play the violin. And the rabbi said, oh, that's so nice. Do you happen to have it here? And the boy said, yeah, I have my violin here. The rabbi said, amazing. Can I see the violin? Can you bring it to me? I want to see your violin. He said, sure. So the boy's so excited. Now we're going to get away from this Torah conversation. Okay, deep talking. Now I can talk about my violin. Okay, things that make me happy. And he brings the violin to the rabbi and he shows it to him. And the rabbi says, excuse me just 1 second. And he goes over to his table and he pulls out a pair of scissors. And the rabbi comes over to the violin and he puts the scissors onto the strings of the violin. And the boy's like, what are you doing? He starts flipping out of the rabbi. And the rabbi's like, what's the problem? He says, I'm just going to cut the strings of the violin. That's all I'm doing. And the boy says, no! What are you doing? You're going to kill my violin? It was expensive. Why are you breaking my violin? The boy's thinking, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable. Not only did I come to this, I came to this rabbi for advice, and now he's cutting my violin. Okay, I got nothing out of it. He, for some reason, thinks it's normal to cut my violin. I'm not sure why, right? And he said, what are you doing? And the rabbi says, well, I looked at the violin, and it seems that the strings, they seem very tight. They seem very tight. They seem very uncomfortable. So, I felt like it would be, I should show my pity and show my care to the violin. The strings, they're so uncomfortable. They're so tight there. They should be a little looser, okay? Be a little looser. Let them be free. Let them be able to just kind of do their thing. Why are you holding them down so tightly? The boy said, this rabbi's nuts. Right? Rabbi's crazy. But he told the rabbi, he said, Rabbi, it's ridiculous. He goes, if you loosen the strings, then you can't play the violin. The only way for the music to come out of the violin is if the strings are tight. The rabbi said, aha, I gotcha. He said, that's the same thing when it comes to the human being and when it comes to the neshama. The only way for the real music, meaning for the real you, for the real individual to come out, is when we tighten those strings. Is when those restrictions are there. That is what allows for the real music, which is for the real you, for the real person to come out. How does that make sense? Because of what the Chazon Ish is telling us. Because when you have those restrictions, it allows you to really be you. It allows you to have your intellect in full control of everything else that's going on, and to really determine, to really be in charge of what is happening. in my life. And to make a real decision. Is this good for me? Is this not good for me? Am I doing something moral? Am I doing something not moral? If a person trained themselves from when they were young not to speak lashon hara, not to speak bad about others, so then when they are tempted at that moment to say something negative about somebody else, where is the willpower, the force going to come from to tell themselves, no, it's not right. You don't speak bad about other people. That doesn't come from being in a society, in a world where everything's okay and everything's wonderful. That comes from the fact that we have these restrictions, we have the Torah life, we have trained ourselves to really be able to put our seichel, to put our intellect over our emotions, and to really, really make a decision and to do what's right. Okay? I saw an amazing study that was done. I think it was out of Stanford, but I'm not sure. But it was done by a guy named Dan Ariely. Dan Ariely, a well-known psychologist, and he wanted to measure cheating that goes on amongst college students, okay, on tests. That's what he wanted to measure. Okay, what goes on in colleges when it comes to cheating? So he did the following thing. Okay? He took two groups of students, okay, and put them in separate rooms. Okay. Now the idea of the test was he's going to give them a test in the room, okay, and they have to take the test. But the thing is that the proctor immediately after they hand out the test, the proctor is just going to leave. Okay. Now they had video cameras obviously in the room, you know, watching and monitoring what all the students were doing. They wanted to see, are they going to cheat on this test? Are they going to have the moral conviction not to cheat on the test? Because there's no proctor there, so like, why not? Right? So he puts them in two separate rooms, that's what he does. Now, there's one group, after the test, this group came out, and like all of them cheated on the test. Every student cheated on the test, okay? They were watching, and they saw the proctor left, and they're looking around, like, sure, so they all get up, and they're walking around, they're talking to each other, right? They're all cheating left and right. Okay. The second group, I couldn't find the exact number, but it was significantly decreased, the amount of people that cheated. There were some who cheated, but most of the people in the group, most of the students in the group did not cheat on the test. So what was the difference? The only difference between the group was as follows. Before they went in, group number one, who was like all, you know, cheating like crazy, that group, they were asked, each individual was asked, before they went into the testing room, to recall 10 books that they had read in college. Any 10 books that you were assigned to read in college. So now please recall those books, write it down on a piece of paper, and then go in to take your test. Interesting, right? Then the other group, however, they were asked the following. Before they went into the test, each student was asked, could you please try your best to recall the 10 commandments? Any of the 10 commandments, or all of them if you know them, but can you recall the 10 commandments? And these were students from all religions, okay? Just recall any of the 10 commandments, write it down on a piece of paper. And it turned out that group had significantly less cheating. The group that was just recalling the books that they had read throughout college, that was just a useless activity, okay? And that did nothing for them. However, Dan Ariely concluded in the study as follows. He said that you see from this that when a person has a moral reminder in front of them, could be a simple moral reminder, but a moral reminder in front of them, then that allows the person within their mind and within their intellect to be in control of what's right and to remind themselves of proper morals and to actually come out and do what is right. And the people who reminded themselves right before the test of the 10 commandments, those people were the ones who were able to make the right choice and to not cheat on the test, without a proctor there, without anything. Isn't that unbelievable? A moral reminder, because it gets us to really put our seichel, put our intellect above our emotions. It's a phenomenal thing. I want to say one last point. The Sfas Emes tells us, and for the sake of time, I'll just say it out outside. There's a whole other idea here, how Torah brings about a person's inner freedom. We all know that every single human being is comprised of a guf, of a body, and of a neshama, of a soul. Okay? And the thing is that the soul, we know, comes from Shemayim. The soul is a part of Hashem. And the body is not. Okay, the body is physical, and the body lives in a physical world. The thing is like this, that the only way for the soul to really feel nourishment and to really feel like good about itself in this world is to have things that feed the soul. The same way that our bodies need food, okay, to exist. We need to go on. We can't live without sushi. Right? By the way, Ms. Pog told me there's no leftovers allowed. Okay, so that's it. Everybody's got to take. Everybody's got to take some more sushi. But that was a plug, right? For taking more. But our bodies need food, right? And we need physical things. Similarly, our neshama also needs to be fed. If the neshama is not fed, if the soul is not fed, that soul is hungry. The soul wants more and it desires more. The only way to feed the soul is with spiritual things, and that's with Torah and mitzvos. And that's it. The soul is not fed by food and by exercise and by entertainment. It's not. The soul is fed by Torah and by mitzvos. And so when a person does that, then a person is truly free. Because a person is in a state of equilibrium, they're able to really fulfill who they are. I am my soul. That is who I am. I am my soul. That's me. So in order to really fulfill me and to make me happy and to give me what I need, a person needs to fill that void. And the way that a person does that is with the right diet of Torah and mitzvos, and as well at the same time, of course, feeding the body. At the same time, I saw an incredible letter. Listen to this, that was written by you'll see in a moment, by a Jewish guy. Wrote the following thing to a rabbi. He did not know this rabbi, okay? But this is what he wrote. Dear Rabbi, although I was raised in a traditional home, I was brisked and I was bar mitzvahed, I have never had any faith or religious belief. I am now age 34 and would describe myself as an atheist. I have no wish to be buried in a Jewish cemetery, and my will has also made this clear. And I have married a non-Jew in a civil ceremony. My question is, can I consider myself officially non-Jewish by my effective opting out? Or do I need some sort of form or dispensation to be officially no longer Jewish? Many thanks for your help with what is perhaps an unusual question. Best wishes, Edward. That's the question. Okay, he asked the rabbi, do I need an official certificate, right, to be able to opt out of Judaism, right? It's like the certificate they give you when you left jury duty yesterday. Thank God, right? Thank God I got that paper to hold on to for dear life. You're done, you're out. So do I need an official certification just like that to get out of being Jewish? Very interesting. That's his question. Listen to what the rabbi answers. Dear Edward, I would like to help you, but I feel there's nothing I can do. According to your question, you have done everything possible to negate your Jewishness. In practice, you do not keep Jewish tradition. In belief, you are an atheist. And even in death, you are determined not to be buried in a Jewish cemetery. One would think that all this would be enough to confirm your un-Jewishness. But no. For some reason, you are still unsatisfied. You still feel Jewish. So much so that you feel the need for an official dispensation. Right? From a rabbi, exactly. Unbelievable. And he actually says that in the next line. Right? The rabbi says, and so being an atheist, to whom do you turn to solve this problem? A doctor, a psychiatrist, the civil servant that married you? No! You come to the rabbi. Right? How does that make any sense? He says, the rabbi says, I'm reminded of the child who ran away from home, but ended up just going round and round the block because his parents told him never to cross the road by himself. That's it, running around in circles. I'm sorry, Edward. There is nothing more you can do. You are as Jewish as Moses, Woody Allen, and the chief rabbi of Wales. And you always will be. There is nothing you can do to change it. In fact, it seems that being Jewish is the most dominant facet of your personality. He's going there. It is even influencing the place you want to be buried. You see the rabbi? He went full circle. So he said, because otherwise, why would an atheist care about where you're buried? Right? So like you care so much that you want where. Okay. Edward, Jewishness is not a belief, a feeling, a conviction, or a lifestyle. It is a state of being. You have a beautiful Jewish soul. You can either celebrate it or fight against it, but it always will be there. So why not celebrate it? Isn't that unbelievable? You know? You're Jewish. And you're Jewish whether you want to be or not. The reality is that it's the ultimate zechus. The ultimate thing to be able to be somebody who's Jewish and to be able to have that neshama. And that's who you are. That's who Edward is, and that's who all of us are. And that neshama, that Jewish neshama, that soul that is a part of us is very real, and it's you. Rav Yisrael Salanter, the founder of the Musar movement, used to say that who's going to go up to Shemayim after 120 years? Who goes up? My neshama, my alter ego, this part of me? No, it's you. That's what he would say. He called it, he didn't like the word neshama. Neshama sounds like it's something foreign from me. No, it's me. Rabbi Yisrael Salanter said, it's the anochi, the I. It's me, a part of me. That's who I am. That is who I am. That neshama, that soul. And that soul only wants and only craves and only desires Torah and mitzvos and coming close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And for a person to really, really feel free in this world, for a person to ultimately feel real freedom, real happiness, that's going to come from a person putting themselves into a state of equilibrium, which is by feeding their body and as well giving the proper nourishment to their neshama. And it's unfortunate when people don't give the proper nourishment to their neshama, to their soul, that what happens is they feel a lack, they feel a void, and then that ends up coming out in so many different ways. And that's going to pull away our freedom, and it's going to pull away our happiness. But when a person is truly committed to their neshama, to Torah, to mitzvahs, then ultimately that real freedom, that real you, the real sense of who a person really is can really come out. Okay? And that being said, we should all, Be'ez Hashem, go into Shavuos, the time when we re-accepted the Torah. Okay? And and now we're kind of gonna go through this renewal stage of kind of reminding ourselves of what the study of Torah is about, what practicing Torah is all about. It's what really gives us life. The Mishnah is 100% right. Mishnah is 100% right. The only true freedom comes from a person who's involved in Torah because of the reasons that we said before.